alcohol,
sex,
food,
gambling,
drugs,
internet,
love.
spending.
There are a million addictions, and everybody is recovering from something. Here to help, it's Recovery Wednesday with America's original radio psychic, Dr. Linda Salvin, along with addiction specialist Candy Finnegan from the Emmy Award-winning television show Intervention. Candy and Dr. Linda are two gals who know recovery because they are in recovery. Listen as they help you bring your recovery to the next level, help you solve your thorniest issues in ways you may have never imagined. Together, they bring you the tools and techniques that bring balance, serenity, and recovery to your life, and the tools you need to find solutions for healing from the disease of addiction. Candy teams up with Dr. Linda to share their over 60 years of combined experience dealing with all areas of recovery. In her decades as a metaphysical clinician, Dr. Linda has helped thousands of people worldwide solve problems on the air and in person with her insights and solutions. So pull up a chair, turn it up, and get ready for a visit on the path to recovery with the one and only Dr. Linda. And now, live from Los Angeles, ladies and gentlemen, Dr. Linda Salvin and Candy Finnegan.
Hi, everybody. Welcome back to another Recovery Wednesday. I'm Dr. Linda. That's Candy over there. Well, I'm Dr. Linda, PhD. So I qualify that I'm not a medical doctor. I want you to know I am not a medical doctor. I'm a master in public health and a PhD in metaphysics. And this show today on recovery is, what does it take if you're addicted, and especially if you're fearful, what does it take to become a member of a 12-step program? And the only requirement is a desire within yourself to stop. Whether it's gambling, if it's sex, if it's coke, if it's pot, if it's alcohol, if it's food, whatever the ism is that's bothering you, you don't have to do anything but desire to stop, right? Candy, how are you?
I'm good, thanks. It's I can remember it was at Studio 12, I think, the first time I ever saw somebody come in there drunk, and I thought, how could you have the nerve to come in here drunk? And because I didn't understand that the only requirement was not to be sober or not to be clean, but to have a desire to change your life. And I think there was a meeting at one point someplace, and somebody was going to kick somebody out for being high, and they went, no, that's not who we are.
No, that's not the purpose.
I would have personally probably never had the nerve to go into an Alcoholics Anonymous meeting drunk.
No, you had to look good. And most people, I remember
one
time.
It wasn't even that. It was, I would have, I wasn't in control. So I was trying to be in control. So, it's the only requirement is a desire
to stop.
Right. And so
I remember
we all have desires, and then they leave, and then they come, and then they leave, and then they come.
Yeah, I was at a Pacific group meeting when I first got sober the final time in 1985, and it was the women's group in Santa Monica. And I remember one of the girls that was sponsoring me said, "Oh, there's a wet one." And this girl was drunk as a skunk. And we were at the gymnasium or something over at Santa Monica High School. And I looked and I thought, well, she's really drunk, because I was never like that kind of drunk. So I thought, well, maybe I don't belong here. But see, there's so many different levels. Right. There's so many different levels of what our addiction.
What drunk is. Yeah.
To one person may not be to the next. Everybody's got a different level of tolerance. But this one, this was like bad. The party drunk versus the fall down drunk versus the secret drunk, or sneaking away your drugs and alcohol or whatever you're doing. But it doesn't have anything to do with the topic, because the topic is, it's like if you're in pain, or you know that you're on that roller coaster, or you really want to stop, but you don't know how. All you have to do is show up, and no one's going to judge you, because we've all been there. We all walked through that door at least one time to get to where we are now. I mean, Candy and I have over 38 years in this program. Candy's coming up on her 38th anniversary, in a month? Less than almost a month, right?
Less.
Yeah, you're almost there. Yeah. Half our lives have been spent healing, getting better, forgiving, making amends, staying sober, leading more productive lives. And a lot of people who listen to these shows don't believe that can be true for them. any more than I thought it could happen to me unless I walked in and finally surrendered. When surrender meaning, okay, I'll listen, I'll give in, I'll take your orders or direction. And once I'll try. And all I did was try. It took me 4 years the first time around to get it. A year. It took me 4 years back and forth because I couldn't identify with alcoholism because I wasn't a constant drinker. I was a periodic. But it was the other things that I was ingesting that put it all together, whether it was diet pills or cigarettes or smoking dope or whatever I was doing recreationally. And one day it just stopped working and I wanted help. And I just showed up and finally somebody was speaking at that Pacific group meeting I was referring to, and or the other meeting when there was a guy up there and he was saying alcoholism is anything that affects you from the neck up. And he was talking about his drugs, his cigarette, his alcohol, his pills, this. And I got it. I heard it. And I started crying. Everybody has to hear a message from somebody in the room somewhere. It's like they say, if you don't hear it here, go to another meeting. You will hear what your story is. How did you hear your story, Candy? Did you find one person that you identified with?
My first sponsor, you know who she was. She was like Lucille Ball, and she wore peacock feathers and had this huge mouth, and was very funny. And I thought that's who I was, but no, I guess I've heard my story in bits and pieces, but I heard enough to stay.
Obviously, it works because you have stayed. And like both of us have visited Dr. Bob's in Akron, Ohio, where it started. And we've gotten to see the history and we read the books. The books go through editions and they keep editing. I don't have the new edition. Do you have the new edition?
I won't get it.
I'm not comfortable looking.
The reason I won't get it is because I finally know what 449 is and I know where this is. And then they go, no, it's 418. And I said, well, what happened to the other 31 pages?
So for those that don't know, 449 is one page that we all refer to that gives us a spiritual hook where it says that, you know, we're all on like the stage of life and we're all actors.
No, it's acceptance is the answer.
Well, it's not part of the acceptance. Yeah, because it quotes Shakespeare and it goes into acceptance. So now it's on 418. Yeah. And I don't know if the new book on top of that new book has changed the page number again. I don't know.
I don't know. I just don't understand why it's like, okay, I got an idea. Well, unless you're this other guy who you and I don't particularly like, and you put out a new Bible, but you know, that book was okay. Why is they changing it? Well, because young people don't associate with it. Well, they would if it was explained to them.
Yeah, but they don't do that anymore. That's the sad part. When we came into the program, which had already been 40 some odd years old, we were taking what had been passed on. Now, especially with the Zoom in the meeting and the online versus the in-person and the way people are sponsored, we're like old school now. I mean, we're the old timers, Candy. We're the, you know, anything over 10 years is over old timers.
You know what I was thinking the other day, I don't know who I think I was talking to somebody on the phone about the program and stuff. And I was thinking like 84, 85, 86 years. I can name a glob of people who stayed sober and never went to treatment.
Right.
Where you can't even run across those people anymore. And yes, I know the pills and detox and all that stuff's very different now. But you got to spend a shitload of money to get sober now. And I'm very sad about that.
Do you have an update on the girl that we know who recently got into rehab after having a couple of kicks around the block? What?
Yes. She went to detox. And, I'm so angry. And a treatment center. And I had her someplace that's really good and I really love it and trust it. And somebody came to visit the detox center and took her to their treatment center. And that's patient brokering, and I'm not okay with it.
Was it the relative or the BF?
No, it was somebody that worked at the treatment center.
Wow. So they broke their own rules just to get her to wherever she's. Well, I hope she's been sober.
Oh, wait a minute. They don't have any rules.
Well, maybe she'll finally get it. I don't know. It's not really our responsibility. I know you've been more heavily involved than I
Oh,
was.
no. But I'm just saying, when you set something up and it looks like a good plan and you present it to a court, and then somebody comes in and goes, hey, I got a better idea for barely any money. You can come be with it. We take your insurance. I'm not okay with it. And when things get separated and we see how she is, I'm going to call and blast them. And I really am. That's so not okay. I'm the referent.
Right.
No one ever contacted me.
Right. No,
This
but
is my
that's your
business. It's so disrespectful.
It is. It's your name, your responsibility, and your time, and your effort, and your.
It wasn't my responsibility. It was my suggestions, and they never even looked at how this all happened.
But it's also your reputation for who you are in the community nationwide. And I mean,
I'm talking about being ethical in my business and theirs. And I don't like patient brokering. It's very much against the law. If you wouldn't have another doctor come in and go, hey, look, I can do a lot better job doing this open heart surgery.
No, thank you.
And I'll get 10 grand off of it. Come on. And you'll have your own room and the TV works. I mean, it's just not okay. And I can't call the family because they don't know any difference. And what am I going to do? But as I do say, Linda, and it's true, any place is better than no place. So,
well, especially for her situation, I hope something sinks in, or she dries up, or she gets sober, or she gets her head out of her tush, and she finally gets the light bulb. Like, oh my gosh, maybe she'll see where she was wrong, or overdoing it, or what her part is in all this crazy drama. Maybe she'll finally.
We'll see.
A lot of people don't understand.
The thing about it is that I got to step back and just say it's just okay, because she'll either have success or failure, and neither one of them will be on me. It's her job. I always have to step back and let them. If I could have gotten her clean and sober, my God, her father.
Well, you would have months ago. This has been going on. This is a long-term situation. You've had the ideas, you've helped, and you've given more than you do to a lot of people.
But it's also a friendly.
Of course, as a personal affront here, but you've given, and it was up to them to choose or whatever, and some worked and some didn't, and now she's there.
I'd say the family was as difficult as the addict.
True, and that's a topic that we can talk about, that sometimes the family makes it worse and feeds the fire, or keeps the dysfunction going. I just had a sort of conversation with my sister and let her know what I resent, especially with high holidays around the corner, because it's their family, or it's my dad and his girlfriend and her family. And one more time, I'm not invited because, Leslie thinks I insult her family. I said, you've pushed me away for all these years. It's not me. I've made my amends. I brown-nosed your family. I said, you don't know how to say I'm sorry. All of a sudden, you want to come see my house? You want to go to lunch? No, I have plans. I'm on the air. What about dinner? No, I have dinner plans tonight. Oh, you're busy. Yeah, what do you know? I'm busy. Doesn't mean I can't be hurt, but I'm still busy. So it is what it is. There's dysfunction everywhere, but I have to let them know, especially when I feel like I've been hit in the gut one more time with high holidays and there's no family, just because I'm not married. If I had single siblings or people, and if I felt like putting together a Seder, I'd have them here. I don't feel like cooking this year and doing a Seder, but it's the principle of family, that my family's so separated.
Well, your family's truly fractured.
It's very fractured, especially since my mom died, but it is what it is, and it still hurts. But I did reach out to my sister, and I let her know about the little legal snafu, and I let her know about these awards I've just been nominated for, which I passed the second round now with these 60 questions, 15 each on each category. For those that don't know,
other than taking a lot of your time, that's a walk on the beach for you.
Yeah. Well, it took a lot of time, but I've been nominated out of Dubai. Don't know how they got my name, but for Top Metaphysician of the Year, Entrepreneur of the Year under the health category, and in the business category, female leadership and female business entrepreneur. I don't know. I had to fill out a bunch of questions after I was nominated and pay the administration fee to see if I pass, and then it goes to some panel for a couple of weeks. So I'll find out in the future what if I'm going. If I do, it's going to be at the beginning of December. I'll be in Dubai, so that'd be quite an interesting trip. And Candy found a really cool airline app for me to use, which would help on the cost. So we'll see if there's a future trip to Dubai for an award or whatnot. But in between, Candy and I work real hard to help people just like you. We've all got crap. We've all got family issues. We've all got dysfunctional issues. We've all got, pointing fingers, or he said, she said, I want, they want. But in all of us is love, and all of us want to get along, and all of us want to be right, and all of us want to at least get along to have a communal situation. I do. I had 75 people at a birthday party. Candy was there. She saw my sister didn't want to come. Not good enough for her. Like, who do I know? Well, people that apparently cared to spend 5 hours at dinner. But, if you're listening, if you want to call in and talk about your family and you're just...
Oh, yeah, please do. We've got such great ones.
561-623-9421. This is live right now on April 10th at 1 p.m. By the time most of you hear this show, it will be on the download on one of the platforms out there. And you're still welcome to contact me off the air or Candy Finnegan by the information that we put out at the end of the show. So if you want to reach out for either recovery or spiritual services that I offer, we're always here. That's why we do this. I can talk to Candy any day I want, but we're doing this to help and encourage you and enlighten you as to what's available out there. But if you're struggling with an addiction, or you're struggling with too much drinking, or you're struggling with something in your life and you don't know what to do, the first step would be to contact a 12-step program that identifies or specializes in your ism or your thing, and just be willing to show up because you have a desire to stop. That just means, like, I had a desire.
But I also want to reiterate, that's very helpful, but depending on what you're on, in this day and age, I got to tell you really do need a medical deed. You do need a medical.
They're chronic and they're really in acute. Yes, of course. But the average person can walk in. The average person, I'm talking.
I don't think so anymore. I think there's so few alcoholics. I think everybody's really on to the next one, and they really do need to get a medical detox and not be horribly sick.
Well, just like my friend, the client in Michigan, I know she wants help, but I told her what you suggested. She needs medical supervision for the first 5 days. She cannot do it alone. I haven't heard from her, but well,
she probably tried and it didn't work.
I don't know. I think she reached out when I was on my trip, and I said I was in Alaska and I didn't hear back from her. But I'll reach out to her when I feel like it. But for the average person, at least for me, all I needed to do was have a desire to stop. I looked around, thought, I don't belong with these people. But then as I heard the stories, I identified with the lifestyle or the behavior or the complications or the symptoms or the end result. And that's what you start learning when you talk to somebody else. It's like, oh, me too. Oh, you did that? Oh, I did too. So you don't feel like you're the only one in the world that has a feeling or a thought or an idea about something. You're not alone. The anger, the resentment, the frustration, the fears build up inside us, but that gives you a place to freely let go and start to heal. So, let's talk about the insurance part for a moment, because not everybody has insurance, Candy, and not every place takes insurance, right? If somebody has...
God, no. Absolutely not. And if they do, it usually covers from anywhere from 14 to 17 days, and treatment is not 14 to 17 days. And then if they don't appeal it, sometimes it takes 2 appeals, and it is some paperwork. And most treatment centers won't appeal because it's too much work. So they either offer you to do cash pay at between $1,200 and $2,000 a day, or they ask you to leave and go to sober living. And when I got into the business, nobody took insurance. I mean, everything was cash pay because it was reasonable.
And it was still new before all the multi-million-dollar rehab centers blew up around the country, like Malibu to wherever. But not only that, I've been on the grounds of a rehab center, and some of them are like huge resorts and spas that you would pay to go get massages and food and be at the beach, and they're in lovely environments. But why don't you tell people what really goes on behind those doors? It's not just living in beauty, but you're actually working therapeutically.
Well, if it's a good treatment center, you sure are. You have, you have, let's say, groups from, you get up at 7 o'clock, you do some chores, you have breakfast. A lot of times some places go to have a morning 12-step meeting. Some have a 10-step thing where you set your goals for the day. And then starting at 9 o'clock until maybe 12, you do hour and a half groups on triggers and relapse prevention. And there's some trauma education, there's some mental health. And then you do lunch, and then you have a free period for like maybe half an hour or so. And then you hit groups again from 1 to 4. And then you have a little bit of downtime. And then usually you go to dinner between 5:30 and 6. And then starting at about 7 or 7:30, usually there's 12-step groups or panels or out meetings or something that has to do with your recovery. And it's usually split up like that. And then once a week, you might have a primary therapist, you'll have a caseworker, you'll have an aftercare person. And it's a jam-packed month, I'll tell you, which is important. Stay busy, reset your clock.
Do family members get to come during that time? Do people get to visit at all during that time?
It depends on the treatment center. A lot of people have Sunday visiting, maybe from 12 to 4. A lot of people still want you to do Zoom because of the COVID.
That's true. That's true.
Although that's getting farther away.
Thankfully.
Yeah.
But the virus, I think, will always exist. I don't think it's going to be in as intense.
No, it's not going to be put away in a file cabinet.
No, it's not going to be like it was with the pandemic when it first hit.
I personally, at this stage of recovery, I'm not crazy about, unless you have kids, I guess, crazy about visiting. It's like, sending your kid to camp and then they have parents' weekend and you go out and visit. And what's the first thing? They want to go home with you. They were fine till you saw them, It's kind of very similar like that in rehab. So let them have a month to themselves and see how they do.
So then, Candy, a lot of people go through rehab and they get sober and they can go a couple of months, even a couple of years. And then once, as you and I know, some people have been through several sessions or rounds of rehab and they slip. They go back out. They relapse. What's the percentage rate of success versus relapse? Do you know? And if you're listening, people,
success rate at a rehab?
421. Pardon?
And success rate at a rehab?
Yeah.
Are you sitting down?
I am.
7%.
That's what I thought. More people go out than keep it going for whatever reason. They pay thousands of dollars. They think it's kind of cool. Oh, yeah, I've been to rehab, drink.
Well, it's a great escape. They screw up. They do stuff wrong. I'll go to rehab. And then they become institutionalized. They'd rather do that. Then they go to sober living. Then they screw up. Then they can't go home. And they're on the street. Then they're back at the rehab over and over again. Over and over and over again. And when you hear these words, oh, I don't like that person, and those people aren't like me, and blah, 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 and stop going to meetings and all of that, you're out the door. That relapse is set in, and you're either going to stop yourself because no one else can, or you're going to jump back in. And it's like, I guess my problem, Linda, was I had so much blame and guilt anyway for, being an alcoholic mother and all of that. I'm not the girl that could have gone in and out. You did, and you kept coming back. I was always afraid if I went out, I'd never make it back because of my pride and my ego.
In my case, I just knew something was wrong. Obviously, I've told my story. When it came to the diet pills, I went cold turkey on my own, I think in 78. And then the plane crash was 81. And I was bouncing in and out of the rooms trying to figure out what was wrong on top of everything else from the trauma. But when it came to really hearing the story or for me to identify with alcoholism, I couldn't get it until I finally got that one meeting in October of 1985 when I finally said, okay, got it. And here I am, October 11th, 1985 to this year, which will be 2024, will be 39 years. Unbelievable, because I drank or used for 19 years. So I'm now 20 years past that. On top of it.
I went down really fast. I went down in 7 years. As far as drinking alcoholically. I drank, but not alcoholically at all. And then I had my kids, and I was felt like I was stuck and I didn't know what to do. And I didn't have, people don't want to come over and hang out and use and drink and have a baby cry, So I kind of lost all that connection.
And your husband was on the road.
I really felt really, really lost. He was on the road, and I did pour me a drink, and it worked. So, I went down pretty fast, and I'm sure I had a lot of life left, I've always said, but my mother-in-law stepped in and went, "No, you don't." So, grateful for that.
What else should we talk about in this topic about needing a desire, or all you need is a desire to stop? How else do we wrap this in with the treatment or the sobriety or the willingness to change their life? Because like they say in the meeting, all you have to do is change everything. You're going to change.
I always laugh at, I hear a million people say that, but when I hear you say it, it makes me laugh. But you always go, only thing you have to do is just change everything. And what is it?
Change my attitude and change my job.
You can't change your family.
No.
But you have to change your friends. You have to change what you do. You have to stay busy. And then you have to make a commitment to recovery, which is at least an hour and a half a day, if not more.
Prayer, meditation, writing, helping others, talking to people. Why don't you talk about that for a moment? Like, what is the commitment to recovery? So there's prayer.
Well, I think in the beginning for me, I know you went to a different location, but I'd say the first month, the only comfort I had was I didn't want to stand up as a newcomer. I just I think I finally did, maybe at Studio 12, but I really like to go to speaker meetings. And I went to the Dickens meeting on Friday night, and then I went to the Barrington meeting or the Bundy. And
just so people know, Studio 12, Dickens, Barrington, what Candy's talking about, their churches or their locations where the meetings are held.
But you can look on a guide and it says speaker meeting, and that's when somebody gets up and you either have speaker meeting in Malibu.
Aren't you speaking at Dickens coming up?
What?
Aren't you supposed to be speaking at Dickens soon? When?
Yeah, the 3rd, right after my birthday.
Right.
And, I spoke at Dickens. You have to have 10 years or over. I spoke at Dickens when I had 11 years, and I'm now 38. That's a long time between it. And it's real rowdy, and it's real young. And it isn't that establishment sitting in the first 2 rows.
Remember that in the old days, yeah, in the 80s and the 90s, yeah. It was a very astute kind of group.
Well, but it was a group that you had to get, you got approval. I didn't like that anymore.
No, I think everything's kind of mellowed out and changed.
I just I heard a girl speak at Malibu. People usually, you and I got the T-shirt. We've heard everything one way or another. And I heard this girl speak. She was 14. She was going to turn 15 in 6 weeks. I just couldn't believe it. It was so stunning. And she was a pot smoker, had got into a lot of psychosis, started smoking pot at 12. So I guess what a 10-year smoking pot thing would be for her was a little less than 2 years because of the tremendous psychosis that goes with it. And also, needless to say, the strength of the THC. But I never really believe I've heard a pitch that was just pop, let alone a 14-year-old, 15-year-old. She was coming up on a year, and then I went back 2 weeks later and saw her take a year. And I got to tell you, that crowd went crazy.
Because she finally got the year?
Well, just that she's 15. But the talk. And I think so much of it was self-proclaimed. I know she has a good sponsor, but it was self-proclaimed because she was at this point was kind of deciding as far what the gender she wanted to live with. She was heavy set. She was bullied horribly during elementary school or middle school. And I mean, a lot of it wasn't her fault. It really wasn't her fault. She was picked on, and so she turned to pot in some senses originally to kind of be in the gang, the group, but then it was self-soothing. And what she had to go through at 14 to get pot was, not as easy as it sounds, but she hadn't grown up with any spiritual connection. I think her grandparents had been Christian and gone to church and stuff. But I mean, this little girl just sat down and went at it. And I just went, my jaw dropped. Because she had some wisdom that she got to apply for the rest of her life that there wouldn't be any other way if she hadn't gone. She did go to treatment. But she was paying attention,
And where's she now? Do you know where she is now?
Yeah, she's in Malibu High School. I see her all the time. And then she came to the ATC, the retreat house. She came there and spoke to the kids. I mean, they were all going,
"What? Who are you?"
Yeah, because she still calls people dude, and she's still 15, and stunningly beautiful. And she said, "It's the first time in my life that I never realized that my insides could match my outside," because she was real kind of big saggy pants and big t-shirts. And she didn't dress
for her figure.
No, she didn't dress for her commitment. It was like non-gender clothing, Converse and all that. And when I saw her, she looked lovely. And she spoke and had a dress on, and she made some big decisions for herself. But the gratitude of what she had learned about herself and why, and it was stunning. It was like listening to Bill Wilson's kid or something. Well, I know Bill Wilson's daughter, Sue. She wasn't that spiritual, but it was just like magic. It gave me such hope that if you want this thing, you can still get it. It still applies. I don't care what the drug is, or what the dependence is, that you have a possibility to change your life. And she was talking about, she got kind of really weepy, and she was not a weepy kid. And she said, "What kind of a life can I have?" And she said, "I can do anything I want as long as I'm willing to work for it. And the first thing will always be my recovery." And now, things could switch when she turned 17. I don't know. But she had such a command. Oh, by the way, she was a straight D student. She's now a straight A student. And during this process of this year, she learned how to read. They don't teach reading. They read to you in school now. I guess you have to read chapter 1 of your history book or something, but a lot of public schools in the Los Angeles area, you're not allowed to take your books home because you don't come back with them, I guess. It was so confusing to me.
Everything's changed. It's not like Dear Jane, Dear Dick, see Dick run.
But that's read to you. I mean, it's like,
How do they learn to read? And just like, I know.
well, she was in 7th grade. She was in 7th grade and she did not feel
that's crazy
that she knew how to read. She could pick up a book and see words.
But she knew what they were.
Well, but she just didn't, the comprehension of reading. She'd never read a book. And she went to a pretty prestigious school. I mean, it was like, but if you're busy getting high and you're in 6th grade, you don't have time to read, And she just never took school seriously because she didn't think and now, by God, she wants to be an adolescent psychiatrist. So there you go.
That might be kind of good for her. She give back what she's learned and help others.
Oh, yeah, no, absolutely. But I'm just saying, I don't know how you get that in a year, but she worked, she said, I worked 24/7 for 300. At this point, it was 360 days to accomplish what I'm going to accomplish in the next 5 days, which was have a year. And Malibu, it's kind of a snotty meeting. I mean, when she got up there for a year cake, I mean, they went crazy because none of them were 15.
No. I remember thinking when I was graduating high school, I really wanted to tell my dad. I think I was afraid of my mom, but I remember thinking I want to go tell my dad I wanted help and get off all this stuff. I'd already been in therapy, but I never dealt with the diet pills and the pot. And I can remember in 71, I wanted out, and I always wonder what if at 17 I'd gotten clean versus 31 and all that happened in between those years.
The woman I work with, she got sober at 19 years and 5 months or something. She just had 40 years. And but she came to AA to meet Roger. Roger wasn't interested. He wasn't interested because she was taking all these pills and drinking and crazy, but he got clean and sober, and she followed into AA to find Roger, and Roger didn't want her for some reason, but she stayed, But 19's young, but not anymore. You see these 16, 17-year-old. And my first thing is when I heard this girl speak is I thought, what the hell had she done to get clean and sober at 14? I mean, she must have overdosed a jillion times. She must have gotten involved in fentanyl. I had all these conjured up.
It was just pot. What's interesting, I was talking to my friend Storm Monroe, who and his generation, he's 31. He says, you're old school like my grandmother. And the joke is because he's 31 and I'm 70. So I tease him that I'm old enough to be his grandmother. But he says, you guys always say pot. It's just weed, Linda. Oh, okay. So you're smoking weed. You don't smoke pot. No, pot's old school. Okay. So the cool thing to say, Candy Finnegan, is not pot. It's weed. Just weed, not even dope. It's just weed.
Actually, scientifically, it's always called cannabis.
Well, that too, but they're
just because the layers of it. But it reefer madness, a joint, a pipe.
Wowie.
It will always be pot to me, so leave me alone.
Our generation, I think, was cool when it came to all that stuff. If people want to call in, Rebel, why don't you chime in as well as to what your experiences are? Do you smoke dope? Are you getting loaded out there? You drinking on the job?
Are you sitting in that office smoking pot?
I can honestly say I have never smoked weed in my life.
Oh, you know what you're missing.
Well, I'm sorry. My God.
We're not trying to encourage this, ladies and gentlemen. Your PSA announcement for today is no, it really isn't needed. You can manage your life without a device. I manage without a device. I ain't gonna lie. I do have a drink or two. I had a margarita yesterday.
Oh, there you go again.
But I'm not an alcoholic. The last time I drank before that was months. It's not like I drink every day or anything.
Right.
But I do enjoy, the margarita tastes good. And again, not trying to encourage anyone to drink.
Oh, hey, I'm going to tell you, if I could have one drink, I'd have a margarita. Either that or champagne, but I'd probably have margarita.
Oh, I hated champagne.
I used to drink virgin ones, and I got to tell you, it's just like bad pineapple juice. So I'm not doing that.
Oh, no, I had, last night I had a blue raspberry. That's the first time, and they're frozen margaritas. First time I've ever had blue raspberry, and I'm not trying to encourage anybody. Please stay on the wagon if you're on the wagon, but it was good.
No, I want to tell you something. Don't ever say that expression because the wagon moves. So
You need to wear the
being
seatbelt.
on the wagon. If you get on it, it's going to roll. You know.
Yeah, well, we want people to stay on. We don't want people to jump off. I am not encouraging anyone.
When I was drinking, there was no such thing as a strawberry or a blueberry, or there was a margarita with a shitload of tequila. That's all.
And salt.
That was salt. My God. Now they have.
I don't do salt. I do sugar on the rim.
You're killing me.
I'm sorry. I am not trying
to. I was telling Bridget, my daughter, last night. I was talking to her. She's a nurse, and she went someplace and with some girls, and they had a glass of wine, and you know, it was expensive wine, and I guess it was like $13 or something, and she didn't finish it. And my daughter goes, "Aren't you going to finish that?" Now, my daughter's not an alcoholic, but she certainly has the behavior. And I said, "What did she say?" And she said, "What do you want me to do? Take it with me?" And she goes, "Drink it. You're wasting money."
I can hear Bridget doing that.
What I would say, right? And the first time I went back to Kansas when I got sober, I had my 2 kids with me. I was sitting across the hallway, and this guy ordered 2 airplane bottle vodkas. And of course, I was keeping an eye on him because it was the first time I hadn't flown and drank, and I was really nervous. And he took one of the bottles and put it in his pocket and drank maybe half of the other one in tomato juice. So we land in we land in Denver, and we're switching planes, and I'm getting a Diet Coke. Of course, I went to the bar to get a Diet Coke, which was dumb. And I turned around to him and I said, "What are you going to do with that bottle of vodka in your pocket?" It was my business. Buddy. And he said, "Well, I'm going to have a little when I get home and maybe some tomorrow." And I said, "Out of that little thing?" And he goes, "Yeah." And I thought, oh my God, I'm so embarrassing myself.
Because you couldn't understand. You would have the whole bottle.
Oh, I think we've both been gone.
Yeah.
Saving that? What are you saving it for? Fine. It was, but I'll never forget it because I thought that guy must have gone home and said, "There was this wacky woman who wanted to know what I was doing with my vodka."
Yeah, and then he's probably seen you on TV on A&E's
interview. I doubt he remembered me like I remember him.
That's so funny. We've got about 8 minutes left in the show, people. So we covered today how all you really need if you really want to start getting sober or changing your life is a desire to stop whatever you're doing that's interfering, even if you don't.
There is no perfect way other than stopping.
You got to stop, and then you got to feel the pain, and then there's emotions, and then it gets.
You got to feel the feelings.
You got to feel the feelings. It's the old saying: "There's no healing without dealing with the feeling." And sometimes we're always pushing it down with food or alcohol or pot. It's the escapism. I can escape in sleep. I can escape in travel. You know, my mom and dad were always on the road for business, and then it was a lot of travel. And my mom would get squirrely, and it was a lot of times that was her escape, was just to go somewhere in the world. And I know what that's like, because I just spent a week in the North Arctic and was in the middle of nowhere, and I loved it. But I came back to reality, and the shit hit the fan. We just had the eclipse, and then we have the Mercury retrograde, which goes through the 25th of April. So if it's a little bumpy, or communication is down, or your moods aren't flatlining, or you're not feeling the motivation around your money's not flowing because of the stoppage right now. We got taxes coming up, and people aren't spending like they were, and inflation.
And today is property taxes.
Yeah, and it will all shift. Today's property, the 10th. You're right. You got to pay all your taxes.
I got to pay my property taxes.
But we get through it. You know, in the old days, this probably would have overwhelmed you more, and you'd have to have a drink or something just to say, "I got to pay my taxes," or not get them done. But you thought,
I wouldn't pay them.
You put them into arrears, and it's like, I don't want to pay. Why should I pay? They won't find me. They won't find me. But Rebel, did you watch the eclipse?
Actually, I had a lot going on this weekend that I had to get taken care of for family. So no.
Did you see it, Candy, or on TV? I watched it on TV for like an hour. It was fun. It was interesting. I know a few people that went into Texas and went to Arkansas.
Oh, absolutely. I talked to Dr. Flowers. He said it was like the coming of Christ. He said. I said, well, almost was a little day late or something. But I said, and I said I have a really good friend that said it could shift everything, and I decided I'd stay in my house and shut the blinds. I saw a lot of pictures and stuff. It was very interesting and stunningly beautiful, but
it was.
I didn't have glasses and I wasn't going to go blind.
No, and you weren't going to take tinfoil in a cereal box and try to make your own. But a lot of people in the spiritual world, a couple of the people in the psychic world and the metaphysical world, some think it's more of a negative portal, some think it's a positive portal, and I think it's for everybody's own individual purpose as to where you are in life.
I think it's an earth-changing situation.
Well, it's going to speed time up because Surf has also been was accelerating with the proton energy thing that was released again, and I think NASA threw some planes up because people could see the planes going through the eclipse, and oh my God, we're being invaded. No, it was NASA. There's a lot of conspiracies out there and a lot of fears. And the truth is, this happens every now and then. The next one's not till 2044. You got 20 years, so hopefully it'll be.
Well, there's something on 26, but I don't know what it is.
2033. 2033 is the next one. It's in Alaska. I've been invited to go up to.
Well, why don't you go back?
I just might. If he and I are still talking, I might still be his friend, but we don't know. But in the meantime, I'm not going to sit and wait.
By that time, he'll be 80.
No, I'll be 78.
Yes.
And he'll probably be, anyway, we're almost
there.
He'll be getting there. His daughter, his daughter will be 15, so that'll be fun. She asked about me the other day. I thought that was kind of cute. So I made a little impression on his daughter.
That woman?
Yeah, I liked having her in the car. She was so much fun to talk to. It's like, oh, that's cool. I made a little impression on the 7-year-old. But people, I'm Dr. Linda Salvin. I am a psychic healer and a medium, and your host every Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday on this network, which is Talk for TV and Talk for Media, Talk for Women. And you can find us on iTunes and iHeart and YouTube and Facebook and all the other channels out there of where these shows get uploaded. So if you feel like downloading and you want to send us an email, Candy Finnegan is at candyfinnegan@AOL.com. And I'm Dr. Linda at lindasalvin.com until further notice. And I am going to be here tomorrow with Tom Palladino, who's real big on scalar energy. And you'll learn about that. He's been on my show in the past, and he's pretty famous for healing people around the world with this technique, using the sun's energy, actually. And next week, we don't know what our topic's going to be yet, do we, Candy? We haven't figured.
It'll come to us, I know.
I think I already submitted a topic to, I think I made it up. What did I say, Rebel? I think I already sent in next week. Maybe I did.
No, you did. And
Wednesday?
Find that email. I seen it.
Yeah.
I didn't.
I think I already created the topic because I had to send it on next week's anyway to get
one
going.
day at a time.
Yeah, one day at a time. I thought that would be a good one. One day at a time, we can talk.
That is a good one because it helps people know that they don't have to jump ahead. Oh, well, I'll be 12 steps in it. No. Start at number one and work your way up.
As many times as people try to go through the 12 steps in a few days or weeks. Oh, I'm already on my 4th step. I'm like, what? I don't think so. Well, do you understand this? No. Well, then you go back.
One day at a time is actually very difficult.
It is when you understand what you have to do.
And you just live in the past and you live in the future. So
we got to stay in the moment, which is why I chose the topic for next week. So we'll do that next week. That's the end of the show, everybody. This is another Recovery Wednesday with Dr. Linda Salvin and Candy Finnegan. And this was All You Need is a Desire to Stop. So if you need help, we're here to help you. Our contact information will play at the end of the show. We'll talk to you next week. Bye, everybody. Bye, Candy.
Bye, guys. Have a great week.
Thanks for joining us. We hope you enjoyed Recovery Wednesday. You can reach Dr. Linda at 888-509-1077 or at lindasalvin.com and Candy Finnegan at candyfinnegan@AOL.com. Need a breakthrough of your own? Ready for answers or insights nobody else has? Reserve your own one-on-one in-person chat. Dr. Linda isn't just for other people. Dr. Linda gets results for you. And it's easy. Contact details are on screen now. Just click on lindasalvin.com or call toll-free 888-509-1077. That's lindasalvin.com or toll-free at 888-509-1077.